I'm Jeff Fritz with SoundStage.com, and I'm joined today by Bob Hertig. He is the CEO of U-Turn Audio, based in Woburn, Massachusetts. Bob, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good, and it's we've got a kind of an interesting topic today, and that is turntables and what a consumer should expect to get for their money, particularly when they don't have, a tremendous budget for a turntable, but they still want a really good product. And before we get into those questions, though, I want to kind of let everyone know why you guys are kind of almost uniquely qualified to address this subject. So, for those people that don't know, U-Turn Audio, based in Massachusetts, and if I'm not mistaken, you guys actually build the turntables right there in Massachusetts. Is that right?
Yeah, so we do all the assembly and testing and packaging and shipping right from our Woburn workshop. We're really proud of the fact that we engineer our own products and assemble them, all under the same roof. Our customer support team is all within the same building, so we're really a small, tight-knit company. And yeah, absolutely, we've been doing it for 10 years now. The company was started by myself and my two friends. We were just coming out of college looking for that entry level turntable. And, I'm a big Riga fan, so I wanted a Riga RP3, but couldn't quite afford it. And at the time, just decided to make our own. I just finished my mechanical engineering degree and was really into making things. So we started working on the prototype that would eventually be the Orbit turntable.
And so the Orbit turntable, if you go to the U-Turn website, and I really recommend that people do that and check out the Orbit, because the Orbit is available in several different levels, if I'm not mistaken. So it's kind of one basic turntable, but then you can kind of take it up and add options to it and that sort of thing. And I really like the way that your website, it kind of clearly lays out, what you get as you go up in price. But the Orbit is the basic turntable. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's a really good way of explaining it. We call it one turntable platform, and it's very modular. So the tone arm, main bearing, and the motor, they're all used throughout the product line and can be easily upgraded in some cases. For example, the cartridge and the platters, those things can be swapped out really easily. And the idea there was to be able to offer kind of a good, better, and best version of the Orbit, all using the same components to keep the quality as high as we can, keep the design simple.
And that modularity it really, like I said at the outset, it enables you to answer this first question for the consumer that has, let's say, up to $500 to spend. And I know the Orbit starts below that, but what should they expect? And the idea here is, a lot of times in high-end audio, we don't get as much as we think we should get for our money, right? But then there are those cases where you actually get more than you think you would get, for just a few $100s or whatever. So let's say that someone's got up to $500. They're not absolutely set on that $500 mark. Maybe they would be a little more comfortable below that. But what should they expect to get in a turntable with that budget?
Yeah, I think $500 is a really healthy budget for a good first entry level turntable that will get you tons of good quality. So for 500 bucks, I would expect a good quality tone arm made out of rigid materials, hopefully aluminum, metal, or something solid. I would expect a cartridge with an elliptical stylus, hopefully, a moving magnet cartridge with some type of diamond tipped, hopefully elliptical stylus, and overall just rigid materials. The reason why we started U-Turn was because we wanted to avoid all the gimmicks and the built-in speakers that come with a lot of the entry-level turntables, and you just want to look for something simple that has, we like to say that focus on the music making components. So the tone arm, the motor system, the bearing. From there, you can kind of upgrade as you go along. Should you be more interested in vinyl, you can add a higher end, Phono Preamp. You can upgrade the cartridge. So I would just look for the basic, the three things: tone arm, motor, and plinth and platter type of thing.
Okay. Okay. Now, You did mention a phono preamp. Is the and I know you guys offer a built-in phono preamp, but then you can also get the turntables without that. Is what is the I guess the question here is what is the price? You know, what does someone pay for that when they add the phono preamp? And kind of what's your opinion of a built-in phono preamp in an entry-level turntable versus, you know, one without?
Yeah, so I'd say in general, if you know it's a good quality phono preamp, like our Pluto phono preamp, I'd say it's always best to keep the phono preamp as close to the cartridge as possible and keep that signal path as short as you can to avoid noise from getting in. Um, the the contrary to that is if it's not a good quality phono preamp, and often those are shoved into lower end turntables, those can't really be bypassed all the time, and so that can wind up hurting you in the long end if you do want to upgrade. You might be stuck with kind of a low quality preamp that you have to sometimes just rip out entirely to go passive and then upgrade from there. So I'd say if you know it's a good phono preamp being built into your turntable, your best bet is have it mounted directly in there. And with the Orbit, our Pluto is great quality, and it's also fully bypassable should you want to upgrade to a tube phono preamp down the line. But yeah, I think you see a lot of built-in speakers with a phono preamp built in, and we often tell people to avoid those because it's actually putting the phono preamp, closer to where all the high noise, high power electronics are, as opposed to keeping it closer to the cartridge and stylus and keeping that signal path as short as you can.
Okay, okay, no, that makes sense. So, all right, so up to $500, you know, a rigid tone arm, you know, a good motor, you know, just a solidly built turntable, you know, with or without a phono preamp. So, let's say somebody's got a little bit more. Let's go up to double that, $1,000, and they really want to, you know, they want something that's, you know, maybe a little bit better than what you get in the entry level. What should they expect for that additional $500 outlay to get them up to that $1,000 price point?
Yeah, I mean, $1,000, great amount of money for even your second turntable if you're looking for that step up. I'd say first look at the tone arm and the cartridge. A lot of your sound quality just comes directly from the combination of cartridge and tone arm you're using. So I would look for maybe a nude elliptical or a higher end stylus paired with a tone arm that has more adjustability, better bearings, maybe a longer effective length. Just a better built tone arm that can kind of meet the requirements of that cartridge and let you adjust and fine tune to get the most out of it. That would be number one, and then from there, you're just looking at heavier, more sturdy materials for mainly the platter to get lower wow and flutter. And ideally some type of isolation, in the feet or maybe a suspended sub plinth to keep external noise away. And yeah, those are kind of the upgrades I would look for when you're spending that type of money. Just kind of the next tier in performance features.
And you guys have one turntable available right at the, if I'm not mistaken, right at the $1,000 price point. Can you describe that for us?
Yeah, so this is our brand new turntable called Orbit Theory. And for the first time in the 10 years of our company, this is the first kind of major redesign of the turntable. I mentioned the platform that we build all of our other models on before. This is a totally new platform with a different motor system, a different tone arm, a different plinth geometry. So it's all been kind of reconsidered from the ground up. The biggest innovation is our new tone arm. We're calling it OA3 Pro. Our last tone arm was OA2, Orbit Arm 2. So this is the next iteration of that, plus a little bit more. It's built around our new magnesium arm tube. So it's a one-piece design from the head shell to the pivot. So it's very rigid and low resonance. Has a newly redesigned bearing. It has adjustable anti-skate, so a little bit more adjustability to get more out of your cartridge. But it has a Sorbothane isolated feet. It's got electronic speed control for the motor system. So it has a lot of those features you see on the higher end turntables, and we wanted to kind of bring all those together and add a little bit of our own U-turn design to it, and we paired it with our solid hardwood plinth, so you can get that in either a white oak that's been ebonized, so it's turned black, or a solid walnut. So we try to get a little bit of everything in there and keep it under that right around $1,000.
Yeah, and what I love about that is, with a company that is so focused on providing value to the consumer, the $1,000 turntable, and let's face it, there are myriad turntable manufacturers that have no product at the $1,000 price point, right? Maybe they start a little bit higher, or sometimes much higher. But you guys your flagship turntable is at $1,000, and to hear some of the features that's built into it. And believe me, let me just give a little backstory. We have a writer for SoundStage, Tom Moon, who reviews relatively inexpensive turntables for our SoundStage Access website. And one of the things that I'm so used to reading in Tom's reviews are the features that are available in these turntables. And so to hear, some of the things that you mentioned that's in the theory, in your flagship turntable, but that's still at $1,000. It just seems like a lot of value there.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, even though it's a more expensive product, we still see it as a really good value. The original Orbit was all about bringing that really high performance down to kind of a lower level than it had been before. And even though Theory it's a higher price point, I did try to capture a lot of those features and build quality that you see in much more expensive turntables. So yeah, that was the idea. We didn't build it with a specific price point in mind. It was designed purely as a way to kind of approach the engineering problems just from a no budget standpoint. And then when we were done with it at the end, we kind of picked a price we thought was a good value and competitive. Because we do all our own engineering. I designed the turntable myself, and after the last turntable, 082 was our last biggest release. The iteration keeps going, and we're always doing new things. So Theory was the result of that, of over 3 years of developments that just kind of piled up into one product.
Okay. Well, and that's a nice segue into my final question for you, Bob. And now that Theory is done and it's out and it's available, what's U-Turn working on? I know you may not want to give away everything, but tell me what you guys, what can we expect to see from you guys in the next year or two?
Yeah, well, like I said, we never stopped developing. Theory was a really big step for us, for the company, because it was really the first time we reconsidered a lot of the turntable. And just the arm tube itself was several years of development, very expensive tooling. A huge design effort for us. So we want to take what Theory is and figure out how we can bring some of what's in that new turntable to the rest of the product line. So there's a lot of upgrades in Theory that could be shared across all of our models. And so I think we're gonna take some time with Theory, make sure it goes well, and keeping the quality as high as we can. That'll be the main focus for the rest of the year, at least. And then from there, it'll be figuring out, learning from that turntable and figuring out how we can apply some of those ideas to the rest of the lineup.
All right. Well, that's exciting, and I know that we're going to be working on some U-Turn audio reviews on SoundStage Access. I think Tom's got a turntable coming in pretty soon, if I'm not mistaken. And I really appreciate it, Bob. It's great to hear that we've got a U.S.-based manufacturer doing really high-value products. Actually, I do have one more question for you, though. You guys are just north of Boston. Is that correct?
Yep.
So I'm a big pizza fan. And there's something about Boston pizza that has just always, it's near and dear to my heart. What's so special about the pizza in Boston?
Oh, well, it's funny. There's different sub varieties of Boston area pizza, because you get the South Shore pizza, like the bar pies, little buttery, crispy, like bar pizza, and then you get the Boston proper pizza, and it's maybe it's just the grease. I'm not really sure what makes it so special.
It is really good, though. I'm sure you guys probably take lunch down there sometimes. So,
For sure.
anyway, well, Bob, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and we'll make sure
Thank
we
you.
keep track of U-Turn Audio.
Sounds good. Nice talking to you.
You too. Bye bye.